Greetings, fellow fire tenders, Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to The Tribe Must Survive, Episode 3, Into the Dark. So another thing to note here is cohesion. Cohesion is, of course, the cohesion of your tribe as a group, and the larger your tribe population, the harder it is to stay as a cohesive group. And there will also be schisms. So right now there's a conflict, a schism between the spiritual believers of Disciple of the Beast and the spiritual believers of the Servant of the Shepherd. With that said, there are not factions yet. So what ends up happening throughout the game is that there will be moments where you can sometimes side with two factions. So there will be a time where your two rival believers will square off and you have to pick one. And during those, often you can also use influence to say, hey, no, let's not pick favorites. And there is no wrong choice there, necessarily. So I mentioned before that stone was finite. Is there something you might find more outside the world? Yes. So there is this journey exploration mechanic here, which actually, now is not a terrible time to initiate one. So let's do that. Start a journey to explore the outer world by selecting a direction and picking your journey members. Make sure to pack them at least food and firewood by adding them to the inventory. I'm going to trigger this in one day, right as the eclipse starts, I think. But yes, exploring and exploiting resources out in these outer tiles are going to give you stone and food and wood and mushrooms and things like that, and also resources that you can't find at home, like ore, copper, ore and relics. Copper is just smelted ore. So we have about 300 stone left in the stone pit. And there may be other stone pits on the home tile too, just not immediately adjacent to the fire, meaning that it's a little bit harder to quarry. So here is the night alarm being sounded earlier, leaving no one out in the dark. So what ends up happening, if you're wondering, if you lose someone in the dark? Of course, they die. And then, as a result, you'll get a temporary modifier for your entire tribe, driving up fear because someone disappeared. And eclipse will hit us in one day. Prepare. Let's meet some spiritual need here. No one. Oh, no, there is one critical low. But he's joining the ritual. That's good. There's some that are low. But this is a huge attendance. So that's great. Almost everyone attended. Which is fine, because we have plenty of stockpiled resources. So it's not a problem that, 23 of our 26 people are doing. Choice. 1 or 2. These are very impactful. A group of strangers approaches the camp. They saw our fire and decided to ask if they could join us. So if we say join us, our strength is in numbers. 4 people will join the tribe, but we will lose stability. Stability is the slider bar for discontent. So people are more likely to become discontented as a result. Or alternatively, we don't trust strangers. Our strength is in unity. Our stability or discontent modifier increases by 1. For reference, it costs 100 influence to increase our stability by 1. So if you wanted to increase the stability to make sure people aren't discontent, number 2 would be the better choice. So do we want 4 new members, or do we want stability? Is essentially the choice here. And I'll give you 30 seconds to vote on this. Kadath, thank you for the resub. Okay, it's a runaway pull. I'm going to say we don't trust strangers. Our strength is in unity. So here is the result of that. If we take a look at our stability meter, it has gone up by 1 point, which, like I said, would have cost 100 influence to do. And this is going to cause people to become a lot less discontent. So here, in the discontent meter, previously we had content to be alive, which is a modifier of Act 1. But now we have stability, which is a new modifier as a result of rejecting those 4 people. And it's giving us, it's reducing the maximum discontent by 10. Tough choices to reject people to benefit all. I'm also going to wait until the ritual's over to send out the exploration crew, because they're not really going to go anywhere until they're done dancing. Come on, finish up, people. All right. Let me do a quick welfare check. So here, as you might be able to tell, there are some people that are just completely fearless and contented, which is very powerful. We do have a hunter that has slightly higher fear. Checking on our stone miners, because they were the most fearful not too long ago. Puo now has a fear of 29, so that has gone down a lot and is not very discontented. I mean, 30 is high compared to average, but not that high. And Payreg is down to 16 and 5. So I think it might be worth swapping Rorora into the stone mining slot. Is she the highest? 36? Yeah, I think she's the highest fearful person. Oh, we also have a reliable worker. So reliable workers will work faster. So if we take a look at him, they're reliable, I believe, don't quote me, but I believe because their conscientiousness has reached 3, meaning that they're very conscientious, which has driven reliability. Now, there are decisions which will increase tribe-wide conscientiousness, which helps to create reliable workers as a result. So I'm doing that quick swap for Aurora to make sure that her fear numbers come down. It's also worth noting that during the eclipse, everything is dark, as you could probably assume, which means that it's a very good time for anyone that works outside of the fire circle, meaning hunters and lumber cutters, to fulfill their social needs, their spiritual needs, their food, and their sleep. Because there's not much else that they can do unless I start to use beacons to illuminate work sites. What I will say is that the trees directly around the camp are kind of far. So if you take a look at the hex pattern, a beacon here, let me turn on the light overlay. A beacon will illuminate 3 to the left, 3 to the right, and then 2.5 up and down. So it's a circle. It's a pretty sizable circle. So if I put a beacon here, for instance, it would illuminate a small swath of these trees, allowing the tree cutters to cut the trees that are in the illuminated section during the eclipse. If I wanted to illuminate the hunting grounds, I could probably place one here, and it would illuminate maybe just the southern cusp of the hunting grounds, giving a small opportunity to gain meat and a small opportunity to gain wood during the eclipse. But again, we have stockpiled quite a tidy sum of stuff, so maybe we don't have to do that at all and save our stone for research once it comes. But it did say that once the ritual was done, we would send out a journey. So let's talk about that. Where should the journey go? northwest, north, northeast, southwest, south, and southeast. So there's some options, and of these options, they're totally random. I'm actually going to hide this poll entirely so you can see the rest of the overlay here, though. So here is where I'm going to draw upon my experience setting this up, meaning that I'm not spoiling anything necessarily, but I want to set up a journey which has a fair chance of success. So it tells you to take firewood and food, and what I find is that 4 stacks of firewood and 2 stacks of food tend to be a pretty good combination. Normally, you would assume, oh, take 50-50? No, because you have to remember that firewood is what keeps the explorers out of the dark. So, unlike other games where it's more important not to starve, in this game, darkness kills you faster than starvation. And then the direction is completely procedurally generated. Some of the directions are going to have strategic resources like ore and relics, and other directions won't. And I have no idea which direction is best. I have no knowledge about that, because it's procedurally generated. And as far as I can tell, there is no seed. So it's not like you can share seeds and pick seeds. It's going to be random every time, and you're not going to know. As far as members go, you can send one person out alone, but a lot of the journey that they will run into might get them killed. And if they get killed, all of the benefits of the journey are lost. So I usually send 2 people. You could send up to 3, but sending up to 3 is kind of a higher investment, I think. So I usually send 2. I'll just put it that way. And it looks like we are sending them southbound. So we're going to start journey. So Nerd Journey has started. Your explorers are on their way. And I also picked 2 people that had basically no fear and no discontent. So during their journey, their fear and discontent will go up, and they're going to draw upon their stockpiled resources to survive. And this will become a lot more obvious as their journey goes. But if we take a look at the second tab of the Explorers platform, you can see the 2 people that are exploring, and they're heading to the outer south. And what they're doing is they're exploring the outer south to try to figure out if it's worth expanding into the outer south. And as you can see, expanding anywhere costs 200 wood, 100 food, and 50 influence. Good luck and Godspeed. So, Havrim here, I am going to move into a stone pit because the reliable workers, I know my head's in the way, the reliable workers work more reliably in stone, lumber, and ore. They don't make for better hunters. So he was working in a hunter's hut, and there's not a benefit to that. And we've also mined about half of the stone that exists in the stone pit. Well, just over half, but basically half. Does expanding to the south mean the map gets larger? No. It means that you're managing 2 settlements. So, as a result of sounding the alarm an hour earlier, our explorer is heading to light sources earlier. And he got inside in time. He was not in the dark at any point. But the eclipse has started. Question for you all. Should I build a beacon to try to illuminate woods or hunting grounds? I know I asked this before, but before you didn't know that there was an eclipse preventing me from working. I have a lot of stockpiled resources, and I could just as easily save the stone. Or alternatively, I could spend it to try to gain resources even during the eclipse. It's up to you. Let's go ahead and do a little bit of a ritual. The sun has disappeared, and a strange mist is building up around us. The light of the fire protects us, but there is something in the dark waiting for our flame to shrink. Stay close to the light. Your tribe gets eclipse. Tribe fear goes up 20, sunlight goes down 1, and the chance of shadow death is increased 100%. Going into the darkness is lethal. Up here, there is a special ritual, not unlike the Spirit Lodge, where you can run this ritual, and it starts an eclipse ritual for the cost of 25 influence to temporarily reduce tribe members' fear. So during this event, it's a very fearful time, as you can see. And during this event, you need to make sure that not too many of your tribe members become crippled with fear. So we have some that have pretty high fear numbers, so that might be something we do, or alternatively, we try to moderate the fear by increasing tolerance. So increasing tolerance is a permanent benefit, whereas running this ritual is a temporary one. And you guys have voted not to build a beacon. Got it. So here you can see the mist now. And also if I check light levels, it's almost daytime, but nothing beyond our fire is illuminated. And this is the crisis of Act 1. The eclipse does not, as far as I know, affect those on a journey. The journey is like a instanced, let's call it. But the other thing is, these X's are just, they can't get to their workplaces. So taking a look at fear, Aurora's is particularly high. So I think what I'll do is switch Aurora out for someone that has very low fear numbers. So let's go with Quavhol. So that Aurora has no work to do and just hangs out by the fire. Where is she? Oh, I'm looking for Quav. Cool. Or whatever his name is. I do find it interesting that they have last names. Was it Quavnum? No, Quavhul. Oh, they're on Journey. That's why I can't find them. Someone else said low fear numbers. They're on Journey. Pulvreg. Only because before the Black Death, most people didn't have last names. It was only, or at least in Europe. And then it was only because of the Black Death, the Black Plague, that people got last names. Because there was such a work shortage that people moved out of their, like, ancestral towns and villages where everybody knew who they were without last names to bigger towns to seek work and to get compensated and needed last names as a result. But yeah, the names here are creative, let's say. All right, question for you all. Right now, all right, my overlay is blocking a little bit of that. Right now, 0 out of 29 people are crippled with fear in the community. Should we run the special eclipse ritual? Yes, but only if members get close to critical or to crisis, or no, save the influence. So I'm sure at this point, those that have been watching can probably tell influence is a very important resource to manage, because it is essentially your get out of jail free cards continually. So running this ritual costs us 25 over 35 influence, but will help to negate a lot of the effects of the eclipse. So there's a lot of micromanagement that I can do to try to reduce fear. But with that said, Aurora's fear numbers are getting pretty high. Having 1 or 2 members get within critical is not necessarily terrible. What is important is if their fear numbers hit a critical number, they will stop sleeping, eating, socializing, and going to rituals for spiritual need. So hitting critical fear numbers also has them potentially die from other effects, like starvation, for instance. So making sure that the people that are most fearful also have their sleep, food, social, and spiritual needs met can help negate some of the crises a little bit. But standing by the fire like these people are doing, sitting at the fire because there's nowhere to work, is helping to actually reduce their fear. Whereas the stone miners over here... Actually, let's take a look at the stone miners. Despite the fact that we could be running the stone mine, I'm shutting it down. I'm giving them time off from work. I would rather have them sitting by the fire, reducing their fear, than getting a little bit more stone, which is far less necessary for survival. Basically, everyone is unemployed right now. Permanent hiatus. Alright, back to the overlay. And it looks like yes, but only if members get close to crisis. So what I'm going to try to do is manage the members that we have to keep them out of the 60s. So Aurora is the closest, so she's the member to watch, because she is sort of the canary in the coal mine, so to speak. And if she starts to head towards crisis, others will as well. Does fear increase when they're asleep? Let's see. So here she is. Oh, no, here she is. And she is sitting by the fire right now, so how about we go someone who is sleeping? So Rump from here is sleeping, and I don't believe that their fear... Oh no, fear needs went up. I take that back. The other thing I could do, I think this will help, is I just increase the fire radius to include these tents within the intense light of the fire. Let's see if that actually helped. This is something I don't know. So Rumfram, we were looking at you, and yes, being in the basking light of this fire now, because I aligned all of the tents as close to the fire as possible, they now lose fear while they sleep. It doubles our wood cost, but it will help tremendously in reducing fear, because also our granary is within the radius now, because by default nothing can be in the radius of the fire unless you increase the radius. So now our food and our sleep is within the radius. The only thing that isn't is our spirit lodge. So as long as I manage our spiritual needs, I think we'll be okay by just like sort of min-maxing it. So it looks like Orgnum might need a ritual soon. And Prayag might need a ritual soon. But those are the only two. So I can run a ritual for them. And everyone's going to join in. I don't know about their fear needs during the ritual. So we have to balance... we have to balance their spiritual needs and their fear needs as a careful balance here. We also just got a 30th member. We have 4 that are unassigned to work, but I don't want them working anyway. So I'm okay with that. If I increase the fire radius to 3, it again doubles the cost. So it becomes 8 an hour. So it might be worth it, but it also might be kind of too expensive wood-wise. Because if we run out of wood during this eclipse, which granted there's only 2 days left of this eclipse, but if we run out of wood, we're very, very dead. So we'll just keep a close eye on the fear. So she was our bellwether, and she's at 44, so it's dropped. Or actually, Roar was our bellwether. So let's do that. Let's increase it, see if we can't drive the fear down. Because I would love to be able to avoid the influence cost of the ritual. But it might be the case where like some of them are standing just outside. No, it looks like their fear is still dropping. Because I think the spirit lodge is bathed in the light. So even though those individuals that are outside of the radius of the light technically are inheriting the spirit lodge's light levels. Yeah, I think that's the case. Look, there's just one person sitting out here. I mean, their social needs and spiritual needs are already maxed, but everybody else, because nobody is working other than the spirit lodge worker, is in this ritual. So I think this is probably the meta way to manage it. If I was to guess. All right, you are going to get a new name, the Loner, the Hermit. There is a personality trait called Loner, so I don't want it confused. Ooh, and you are going to become the Tinkerer. The reason I didn't raffle off individual names of the of people is because you lose some people. Like, I'm managing Act 1 very well, I think, but that's not always the case. So I've reduced the fire radius down to 4 an hour, which means that Payhole here actually is losing fear, so that's fine. They're losing fear even though they're kind of not illuminated. Yeah, don't get attached to any one person. What's funny is because my explorers left right before the eclipse, they don't have the fear of the eclipse. It's not registering for them, which is good. They have a bunch of different things to be fearful of. The outside world. Oh, and speaking of which, as our bodies and minds beg for a proper sleep, we are forced to consider desperate measures. We could use more wood in our nightly fire. The extra warmth would make our sleep much better. Neglecting that option would be more resourceful, but it would be a tough thing to swallow. Choice: use more wood or don't. And here are the options. I lose 6 wood, but I increase the sleep needs of my explorers by 6. Or don't use wood, and their discontent goes up by 15. Their current fear is 20, and their current discontent is 15. And this is their first uncovering of a new area. So they have discovered one small section of the southern outpost or outlying area. You guys want me to use more wood. Done. With the extra wood, our nightly campfire is sure to give us a deep, comforting rest. And I'm going to have them continue. We have plenty of resources left over, so they're going to venture forward to discover new things. And the thing to note is, despite the fact that they have discovered a section of the outer south, they don't relay that information back to us until they get back to camp. So if both of them die out there, I get nothing. The option to search for wood was disabled because I was missing some sort of prerequisite. So I could have moused over it, but it wasn't selectable anyway. That's why it was grayed out. Sorry, I should have assumed, or rather I should not have assumed that that was the case. And explain that better. I've also added another tent so our population can increase. Despite the fact that we're in the middle of an eclipse, I'm not sure how people would immigrate to us. But let's check up on people. So fear now is just about at the minimum of 20 for most members. It has decreased, except for Aurora. But it's going down for Aurora. She was at like 57. Meaning that we're managing this quite well without the use of a special a ritual. And of course, we're drawing down on our wood and food, but there's not a really good functional way to gain those things when going outside kills you. A quick check for spiritual needs. So the average is 2.5. Actually, probably no one is in spiritual crisis here. Yeah, everyone's needs are super met. Except for one person has a little bit of discontent. Because they have social needs. So full reg needs to like... Oh, they're exploring. That's why. This is a very dark vacation, in other words. So everybody is actually really enjoying themselves, to be honest. Socializing and eating and lounging around a campfire. I mean, it sounds wonderful to me. It just happens to be super dark, and, you know, if you venture away from the fire, you kind of die. What's the greatest size the fire can go? Up to 40 an hour. I kept the game paused during that, because I'm not going to spend the lumber cost for that. But up to 6. And beacons are the same way. You can pay more wood to have a beacon illuminate a little bit further out. There's also an upgrade on beacons for economical flames. So beacon wood burning is reduced by 20%, and that can stack up to 3 times. There's also upgrades to a brighter fire. So the fire light intensity inner radius is increased. That doesn't increase the size, just how bright the inner radius is, which is a way for people to lose fear when they're inside the inside fire. And then there's also fire shine, which increases the fire radius without the fuel cost. So there are researches to increase light radius. Let's do another collective ritual. How does research get done? Research requires research points, which we get in Act 2. I am not going to increase my fire radius unless it is a critical need, which I don't think it is. Just going to leave it at 4 for this ritual. Ooh, everyone's going. All 31 members. Where's our 31st member? Because they just recently joined. I'm going to assume it's Gregora here. Because I don't recall someone being that fearful. Because they've just joined, so like they have random personality traits. So this is my own version of an eclipse ritual. Kind of Cult of the Lamb, a little bit. I'm getting some Cult of the Lamb vibes right now. And most people are having positive social interactions, which is these green things. So what that is essentially, if we show more here, it's them having positive interactions with other members. Nobody has like super high relationship numbers yet, but most people are in the positives. There's not a lot of negatives. Quick fear check. 43, 41. Yeah, we're fine. What, you just left? You bailed on it? Oh, no, you're probably a brand new member that just showed up. And we just got a 32nd member. As you can see in the forecast here, the eclipse is almost over. How did people appear? Out of nowhere? Yeah, essentially out of nowhere. It'd be interesting if they like crept in from the edges. Well, that would look really creepy. Because the problem with doing that, I think, from a game design standpoint, is you would probably think, wait, I let someone outside of the radius of my city or something like that, my village. Whereas it's not that. It's, you know, just a random event. But the newer people might have higher fear numbers because we haven't been managing their fear. But it's also worth just like checking, because sometimes they have special personality traits, like Reliable Worker, where they should be employed somewhere specific. Same with the Tinkerer. So if you're wondering, I named the Tinkerer, but the reason I named them the Tinkerer is they have Imaginative Thinker, which increases their tinkering productivity by 25%. So their openness to experience is 3, which probably drove their imaginative thinking. As generally speaking, this is the egg. The egg is the personality, and then the results of the personality is their traits. Not always. Some traits are from a lack of sleep or whatever, delirium, etc. But often the personality traits that they inherit are just a result of the personality numbers, which is kind of unique, I think. Okay, the eclipse has passed. We see the moon finally pierce through the darkness as the mist around us disappears. The long night has ended, but the horrors are still out there. We must prepare for what's ahead. A new morning awaits. Act 2. Progress. Even though we survive the eclipse, we soon realize that what got us here won't get us any further. Struggling to satisfy even our most basic needs wasn't going to be enough. Survival is a race between progress and disaster, and we had to stay ahead. Act 2 perks. Cost of efficiency. Social needs increase interval by 20%, or negative 20%. So people need to socialize More. Spiritual progress is increased 15%. Building upgrade costs are decreased 10%. Crop farm productivity is increased 20%, so it would be really good to start crop farming. Time to invest. Building costs decreased 10%, so it would also be a really good time to build. And doubtfulness. Spiritual need increase interval is decreased. So I'm going to have to carefully manage social and spiritual need, but it is also a very good time to build a tinkery and start to invest in our infrastructure. So I'm going to reopen the stone pit. Oh, we have someone that is lonely. So here is some personality traits as a result of need. So per Puvreg has just really low social fulfillment, which gave them the lonely trait, where they don't move or produce well. I'm also going to reduce the fuel cost for the inner fire, because I no longer need to bathe the tents here. We didn't have a single person suffer critical fear during that event. The other thing to note is that if we take a look at fear here, now that the eclipse is gone, fear is sitting at basically 0 for most of our people. And most of the discontent is sitting in the single digits, which is why the summary here of fear being 1 and discontent being 4, pretty good. The other thing is now raising our tolerance is full 100 cost, because we're out of Act 1. So the bonuses of Act 1 no longer apply. It's day 20. Thank you for tuning in to The Tribe Must Survive, which originally streamed live on Twitch February 22nd. If you have any questions or feedback for me, let me know in the comments below, but please keep in mind that I've asked for no spoilers or backseating. It is important that the viewers do not have this game spoiled for them. If you would like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you would like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Rhadamant.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching, and a special thank you to my Patreon patrons, Twitch subscribers, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. Hope to catch you in next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow tribe members.